If you draw from Social Security, you could start seeing smaller checks within 6 years unless Congress acts. A new report shows the program's retirement trust fund could run dry in late 2032. And joining us this morning is Matt Eilers with Medalist Wealth Management to help break down what this means and, of course, what it doesn't. We've heard a lot of blanket statements about this in the last week and a half that this report has been out. So let's start with what this actually means for people at home, specifically our retirees, right? Because I think that's who this is going to impact the most. What can you tell us there?
Well, I think the first thing to remember is just don't panic about this. This actually isn't like earth-shattering news. They've been talking about this for well over a decade now and have seen this coming. And let's just talk about like really what's happening. What does this all mean when you see that this trust fund could be depleted by 2032? The way that Social Security works is benefits that are being paid to retirees are being funded by workers' payroll taxes.
Okay.
So when Social Security was created in 1940, there were about 42 workers for every one retiree that was receiving benefits. You fast forward to today, there's less than 3 workers for every person that's on benefit. And that's just because of the fact that, number one, people are living much longer, but also we have the baby boomer generation. Social Security was not created to withstand the baby boomer, that pig in the python moving through our, the generations, nor life expectancies. People are living much longer. So what we have now is because the outflows are funded by the inflows, there's a shortage. And they're being quite specific now for one of the first times saying that, okay, if Congress doesn't act by 2032, something has to change. So, they've given out kind of the worst case scenario, which would be about a 22% decrease in benefits. So for someone that maybe is receiving $2,000 a month of Social Security income in retirement, that could fall by almost $500 a month, which could be a big deal. Now, what I like to remind people is, legislative action can still take place.
Right. And I think that was my next question, is there anything they can do, right? Is there anything that Congress at this point can do, especially given the way it has flowed for decades?
Yeah, I mean, we're approaching this line in the sand, and it's 6 years out. And honestly, it could accelerate even further at that point. Excuse me. But really, what they could do are a couple things. They could, in fact, lower benefits.
Okay.
They could increase payroll taxes. If you think about what's one of the easiest ways to fix the problem is they need more inflows. So the more workers could start to kick in more. They could also delay full retirement age. So maybe right now, Social Security deems somebody's full retirement age as 66 in 10 months. Perhaps that could move to 68 or move to 70, or they could actually reduce the benefits. So this could be a combination of some of the different things. I think that will come into play. But the clearest picture that we have is that Congress still has time to take action. There's 6 years to deal with this, but I would expect that the landscape is going to look a little bit different.
Okay. Interesting. Let's talk about people who might be nearing retirement, maybe in the next 3 years, right? Or maybe this year even. Should those folks be worried? If so, what should they do? Or should we just maybe see how things play out here?
Yeah, again, I say don't panic, but I say this is the perfect time to plan, because seeing some of these things down the road, what we can do is we can stress test a financial plan and a financial picture to see, okay, what happens if Social Security was reduced by 22%? How does the rest of the investment portfolio support that? And do we have kind of a plan B to be able to do that? And I always like to remind families that Social Security was never really built to be a retirement plan. So we don't want to rely on that. We never want to have too much reliance on just one income source.
Right.
So building a plan that can account for a reduction in Social Security, or if you're drawing income the same way from your investments or things of that nature, a loss in the markets, like we have to have a plan for what if this does happen, how will the plan adjust? So we work with families now to say, okay, let's just build in a hypothetical 22% reduction. Now what does the plan do? And I think this challenges a lot of people to understand how much money can they afford to actually live on and take out of their investments for the rest of their life, and what's the rate of return they need to actually get on their investments to make sure that that happens. When we know those two things, we can go and bake in some of these worst case scenarios or some of these different things that might happen to see what happens to the plan. And that allows us to make some planning decisions. But I also want to urge people, like if you're, about to retire, again, don't panic and just make an emotional decision about when you're going to take Social Security.
Right.
You can claim Social Security benefits as early as age 62, but by doing that, you're permanently reducing your benefit amounts there. So that may be more costly than anything that happens, coming from Congress. So
yeah, well, and it goes back to just don't panic. Right?
Exactly.
Just don't panic. Maybe try to find those steps to see what you need to do.
Yep.
With our retirement plans, let's say we've got one. I mean, is there anything we need to worry about there? I mean, what would you recommend if we're just kind of sitting and watching and waiting for things to play out here?
I think we always need to have a plan for what we're doing in any kind of an account. Obviously, Social Security benefits and investment accounts, retirement plans, they're not going to be directly related to each other in a sense. But if things change in a tax environment to fix Social Security, that could inadvertently affect what's going on in the investment world.
Sure.
Especially if a lot of our investments are tax deferred, meaning 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, things that we have not paid taxes on. When we take those dollars out, if tax rates are higher than they are today, which a lot of us speculate that they probably will be, and this compounds that even more, it could affect our total tax bill in the future. So we want to look at everything together. We don't want to look at Social Security planning in a vacuum, just the same way as we don't want to look at investments in our retirement accounts or our brokerage accounts in a vacuum. We want to look at the big picture in one comprehensive plan. Yeah.
Anything else that people need to be aware about this? I mean, obviously, I think we do start to hit the panic button when we think about Social Security, a institution in our government, and the way it's being talked about. I guess what else do you think people need to be aware about?
I think what it comes down to is planning. It really does. Is knowing that I'm a little bit of a cynic, and I don't believe that there are many politicians that are going to stamp their name on cutting Social Security for Americans by 22%. So I think that we can kind of see what might be the worst case scenario. I don't know that I realistically expect that to happen, but I believe it could be a combination of some of those other things. Taxes going up, full retirement age being extended, or benefits coming down. And I think what's important is to have a plan and understand exactly how you'll bob and weave with some of these changes should they happen.
Okay. We have to leave the conversation there, Matt. We appreciate it as always. Really interesting about this because I do think this is something a lot of people at home might be worried about in the near future. Thank you again.
Yep, thanks for having me.